Yeah, no. That's not going to work.
As promised.
Why should Aang and Mila Jovovich have all the fun? We're talking elementals.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not bad. What do you think of the elementals that are in the book?
It's a fairly a good spread, particularly if you're looking at earth and fire elementals. There's more of those than there are air and water, which is unfortunate. Really, for air and water, outside of elementals, you're limited to methods. You're limited to invisible stalker or water weird for your air and water. But for earth and fire, you've got salamanders, you've got Galabdur, you've got gargoyles, you've got magmen and azer. There's a lot of variety in the types of elementals you can summon, and a lot of different things that you can do with them, even though they do tend to have a theme of bound servants and guardians. If there's any one theme towards elementals in the monster manual as it exists, it's that these are things that are conjured by druids and wizards to guard someplace.
Yeah. They are tools of the natural order.
Yeah, that are used. So I mean, like an invisible stalker is pretty clear. If it's not getting something for you or killing someone for you, it's trying to kill you. Like it's just a vengeful air spirit that you need to give very specific instructions to. But I can see it being used by the party or even against the party as one of those things where, say, a mid-level party needs a magic item. Wizard summons an invisible stalker and says, "Go get me that magical item," and then that's just taken care of. We don't have to worry about that. It's sort of a side trek. Maybe there's a table that the DM rolls on to see whether it's successful or not. But for the most part, elementals are servants. In my experience, they're the most commonly summoned extraplanar creature that a party will summon. And at some point, you know that a party has hit the next tier whenever earth elementals just become an addition to every fight.
Yep.
It just seems like in a lot of our games, particularly 5th edition, that at some point the earth elemental shows up and they're there to stay. As a DM, I have to figure, all right, in every fight here, someone will also be summoning an earth elemental. They're the easiest to summon if you're on there's dirt everywhere.
Yeah.
They're
the hardiest.
I'm surprised we don't summon air elementals more, given what they can do and the ubiquity of the air around you. But the earth does seem to be the most commonly summoned one.
Yeah.
To the point where I was actually reading through the monster manual entry and like, holy crap, water elementals can drown you if they're grappling you. And I'm like, well, why haven't we summoned more water elementals? Well, it's because it's kind of difficult to summon water elemental.
Yeah.
So in my experience, they are the most commonly summoned creature, particularly the pure elementals.
Yeah.
As monsters, for the most part, it doesn't matter if you kill them. You're not having to worry about what they ate for breakfast and who they were and whether they love somebody. If you're prone to worrying about that kind of thing, they're just pure elemental magical creatures.
Yeah. If you're going to be a Brita about it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a Brita about it, then you just fight constructs and elementals and not really have to worry about it, unless they're like one of the elementals that has a life and an existence. But I mean, that's the game we play, man. I don't know. And in terms of the monster manual, definitely there needs to be more of air and water elementals to summon. But at the same time, between the mephits and the elementals, there's a wide variety of creatures to summon there. Use your powers.
What's your favorite of the mephits?
I don't know. I think mephits probably Steam, because they have that weird egomaniacal we're the king of all other mephits kind of thing going on. I think there's probably a lot of really interesting things to do with the mephits for like low level games. So like first, second level, maybe you're having to deal with a mephit infestation. An elemental node is spewing, it's open wide and just wide enough that mephits are getting through.
Yeah.
It's just a treacle of mephits.
Yeah.
And then there's just, okay, you get into it, and there's these morose dust mephits who've infested the cemetery, and it could be like a fun series of low-level adventures where this village or town is having to deal with the fact that, we've got a mephit infestation, and we got dust mephits in the cemetery, and steam mephits are bossing around everyone over here, and the ice mephits are being ultra cruel and skinning cats and this other kind of thing. And it's up to the party members to go corral the mephits. Maybe the wizard tries to get one as a familiar. And have that be sort of a low-level elemental adventure where it's less about like fighting and killing them, and more about like corralling them and getting them all back to where they belong.
Like herding cats.
Like herding cats. Other kinds of elemental adventures or adventures that feature elementals, maybe the players want something created, and they know that the only way to get this weapon, armor, ring, whatever, forged is to visit the fires of creation on the border between the earth and the fire plains, and visit the city of the Azer, and convince them. Well, how do you get there? The quickest way to get there is through the city of Brass, and then you've got to deal with the Ifrit, and then you've got to cross the plains of Cinder.
Yeah.
And so it's an adventure in and of themselves, so that by 7th, 8th, certainly by 10th level, that should be something that the party could get up to if you want to feature the inner planes or elementals quite properly.
Your fighter wants a magical sword, but he doesn't just want to get one.
He doesn't want
he
to
wants
just
it
get one.
made. Like
Yeah.
he wants, he knows what he wants.
He knows what he wants. Or maybe it's like, okay, we need a flame tongue to go clear out the trolls from the swamp. Well, the only people that can make a flame tongue are Azer.
Right.
And maybe they just make them, any weapon they make is a flame tongue. But getting to them, convincing them to do it, maybe you got to do a favor for them. Did you get the Ifrit's permission to cross through the plane of fire, and therefore granting you fire immunity? Well, those Azer are going to be like, what are you doing working with those people that try to enslave us?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of potential for adventure just from those, just from Salamander, Ifrit, and Azer. A lot of story potential there. I really want to run a game where the party has to get a diamond or a gemstone of uncommonly large size. And wouldn't you know it, the Zorn on the elemental plane of Earth are having a feast, and this is the only place where this gemstone is, and it's at the end of a long table, and the Zorn king is slowly eating his way, Pac-Man style, across the table towards the gem you need. And do you try to offer him something in return? Do you steal it and run away? Do you do it? There's a limited time. He's going to eat that gemstone.
Yeah.
Maybe
it's the dessert.
Maybe the thief is subtly sleight of handing it down the table every now and then while your bard is trying to convince the Zorn not to do it. So that's the kind of adventure that I would want to run with that kind of, it's silly, it's weird. It highlights the kind of the oddities that crop up in D&D.
But it's also counterbalancing to just, kicking down the door and killing the Zorn. I mean, it lets you use your social skills. It lets those other characters shine.
Maybe the warrior types during that encounter are, arm wrestling with other guests who are wanting, there's earth elementals there who want to test their mettle or test their strength against the party barbarian or the party fighter. So, I think there's things to do for the combat types in these types of encounters. Yeah. But to me, it's more interesting to think of creatures, particularly if you're visiting them on their home plane.
You got to play by their rules.
You play by their rules, respect their boundaries, that kind of thing, because this is the world that your characters live in, and they want to be able to summon these creatures and have someone answer their call. Right. And it behooves them to be a little bit nicer to them. Yeah. Monster Manual has a really interesting idea with the water weird, that depending on what type of water it's made out of, that may be where it's aligned. If it's profane water, then
poisoned or cursed.
Then it's poisoned, cursed. That water weird is going to attack people that come within it. So maybe the water weird in your campaign is in a poisoned well, and it's up to the party to try to figure that out. Obviously, this is a low-level adventure, so they can't just remove curse on it. But maybe something happened. Someone was murdered in the well, and that's poisoned it or cursed it somehow, and the party has to remove that curse. Yeah. Or maybe it's, people stop throwing coins in the fountain, and that's angered the water weird. Yeah,
but they still ask for their wish. But
they still ask for their wish when they walk by, and now the water weird's going ape.
And he can't report to his
marriage.
His marriage overlord. Like they keep asking for wishes, but
what are you
down on your quota?
You're down on his quota. Yeah. So those are the kinds of adventures that you want to have. If you want to incorporate them as something other than bruisers that the party summons or is summoned against the party. Even pure elementals, in the setting of Eberron, they are used to power airships and lightning rails and all sorts of things. Maybe different types of elements are necessary for the creation of golems, so that fire elementals are always used in the creation of iron golems. Yeah. Something like that, which is what gives them their immunity. Air elementals are always used in flesh golems because this creature of other dead body parts needs breath. And those are the kinds of things that your that you're using elementals for. There's no spells for it, so maybe the DM makes them up, or rituals or something like that for the party.
Nice.
But I like elementals. To me, they're one of the few monsters that really lets me know I am playing in a D&D world. When elementals start showing up as opponents or as allies of the party, I know that I'm in those ranges of D&D where we are in high D&D here. The wizard's flying around shooting lightning bolts. The fighters are doing crazy things with shrugging off wounds that would kill a normal mortal man. The thieves are literally stepping into and out of shadows. It highlights the magical nature of Dungeons and Dragons that I love so much, and that's why elementals are sort of one of my favorite monsters to incorporate and do weird stuff with.
Or what if you had a water elemental, a la the Abyss?
Yes.
Trying to contact a party to let it know something, but the fighter might want to fight it.
The fighter
doesn't trust it.
Doesn't trust it.
You know, he's got the bends and he's cutting his arm, but he just wants the wizard to shoot a fireball down there and just burn it away.
Just burn it all away.
But you can't do that.
Maybe in that scenario, there's a water node somewhere deep down in a crevice, right off the coast, and something's wrong with it, and now there's all these water elementals and the like spewing, and they're causing storms along the coast and rainfall, and it's like disrupted traffic and trade, and now it's up to the party to descend in their bathysphere as they go down into the crevasse of the water elementals, and I don't know. Those are the kinds of adventures that can feature elementals prominently.
Okay, so like you said that there are not a lot of water and air.
Yeah.
Like are there other monsters that just off the top of your head that you think, oh, you reskin that? You know what I mean?
I mean, it's a bit more difficult with elementals because of their elemental nature.
Yeah.
But there's probably some incorporeal undead that you could reskin to be air elementals.
I was thinking of Banshee.
Banshee might not be a bad idea.
You just kind of change it, but it's just this howling wind that drives you mad.
Yeah. Some things I would do for monsters if I was making them myself, really play up the powerful wind mechanic of it. So maybe an air elemental, can create stronger winds than the monster manual suggests. So reading up on the DMG about what happens in high wind speeds. Are you able? Is the wind strong enough to knock creatures prone?
Does it create difficult terrain just walking?
Just walking anywhere.
I'm actually doing that in mine.
Yes, right. So it creates this sort of like hostile environment, debris in there, sort of ambient damage that the party just takes. As long as you're in here, you take X amount. You're not. It doesn't roll to hit. There's no save. You're just
make a save every now and again.
Make a save every now and again, but for the most part, fighting this thing, just getting to grips with it, is difficult. So I might have an air elemental that does a lot of things with pushing and pulling and knocking down and dragging and grappling with the air. Those are things. I might have an air elemental that steals the breath out of people. And has something like a death attack that's incredibly powerful. If it grapples you, it enters into your lungs and steals all the breath out of you. Those are the kinds of things I might do with a
fills your lungs with carbon dioxide and just keeps it.
And just keeps it there. It can do that. Same thing with water elementals. Water elemental that grapples you is pouring itself down your nose and throat, filling up your lungs with water, and it's bad news. I always liked that one spell in 3rd edition where it draws the water out of a creature and creates an elemental from it. So there's a lot of interesting things you can do with elemental magic that feature these monsters.
Yeah, I mean, and some good source material to refer to would probably be Avatar: The Last Airbender.
The Last Airbender, definitely.
You want to talk about what you can do with elemental power.
Right.
Just imagine instead of a person doing that, or the way the 4 elements monk is
a little
severely underwhelming. But I see what they were trying to do.
Yeah, they're clearly trying to give the people who like The Last Airbender a way to create that kind of character. And so maybe if you're wanting to highlight elemental magic in a campaign, first off, using the elemental evil spells as standard spells in your game are going to be one good way to do that. But also just sort of thinking and looking at what you can do with elemental magic. What would it be like to really command fire? What would that look like? Is it something more than just throwing a fireball out every now and then? Is it being able to control the temperature in the room? If you're talking about controlling heat, then maybe the fire elemental guy also has corresponding ice powers, because it's like he's withdrawing the heat from something, creating,
take the heat out of it into himself,
taking it out of him and into himself. Those are the kinds of things that that you can do with elemental powers. Maybe one of these monsters is run amok and is creating some kind of problem for locals. Maybe there's a gargoyle that's messing around with the composition of the earth in a region and causing the fields to go fallow and barren. And having to appease this gargoyle, or maybe even it's like evil earth elemental overlords to convince you, like, hey, bring the nutrients back to the soil, please. Stopping them from doing that.
Right.
Those are the kinds of things. So when you're thinking about elemental creatures, think about how they interact with the environment. They're really places for wizards and druids and like to shine. They're going to excel against those kinds of creatures.
Yeah.
Don't limit yourself to the kinds of monsters that are in the monster manual.
Yeah.
Use the elementals as a base for something. But what if an earth elemental isn't just a big pile of rock? But it's like an animated statue or rolling earthquake or something like that.
Or just taking a goblin and giving them some fire resistance and a little fire breath attack, or
yeah, that's enough.
They're
to
just
create
like fire goblins.
Fire goblin, yeah. I mean, I think that the flexibility and ease with which you can run 5th edition allows you to do that kind of thing on the fly.
Right.
So that you don't have to fine tinker with things. If you have a favorite monster that you like using, or a monster you've never used that you want to try out, give it an elemental attack, describe it in a different way, and then you've got yet another elemental that you can use to have the party go up against.
And what more do you want?
What more do you want?
That's it, right?